Good morning, good evening. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing, we wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you joining us today, welcome in. This is going to be an experimental series that deviates a little bit from our usual format to offer a little bit of life advice. I'd like to call it life hacks, but that seems too clickbaity to me. So we're just going to call it life advice. Handling daily things that people run across and maybe a new perspective to approach them from. We're going to start off with an easy one. Complaining. Yes, in life we all have complaints. Be they minor, be they major, be it whatever you run across. Perhaps the person on the phone couldn't help you out. Perhaps the person in the drive-thru gave you the wrong order. Whatever it is, you're going to wind up with something that goes wrong in your life. We all get upset. We're all emotional beings. As humans, we're very strongly invested in how we feel. And our initial response is, for a lot of people, is, I'm going to complain about this. That's all fine and dandy and good. But take that old piece of advice. Take a deep breath and really think about it. Yes, perhaps you didn't get the order that you ordered, but is it close? Did you get a pickle put on your hamburger that you didn't want? Or are you honestly allergic to pickles? Did you get somebody who seemed a little bit lazy and standoffish, or were they honestly being rude? It's important to realize your reason for complaining. So take that moment, take a breath, and really analyze your emotions. Because more often than not, the thing that you're ready to explode at is just the straw that broke the camel's back. There's nothing wrong with being frustrated. There's nothing wrong with having a bad day. But let's try to be polite to each other as human beings and maybe come up with sensible reasons to do things. So, after you've calmed down, taken your breath, really thought through what you're going to complain about, because, like I said, is it what that person did, or is it a culmination of things? The second thing you have to put a value on is, what's the value of your time? If you got shortchanged by 10 cents, and you're already out the door, and you're in your car with whatever amount, with whatever item that you might have, is it worth going back to argue over 10 cents? How much value is your time worth? Now you might want to say, it's the principle of the thing, and that's a wonderful thing if you worked for a place and they're violating health and safety standards. By all means, stick to the principle then. Invest the time in the complaint because it's worth your time to do it, to make sure you are safe. Other than that, a lot of things are really not worth your time. Most of the complaints I have fielded over the years are silly. My favorite complaint of all time, and I might have told this before in another episode, I might not have. I got a complaint from one of our customers that the driver we had sent over was urinating off the back of their porch. Now, of course, this is a horrible thing and not something you want to see any one of your employees do. But I stopped, I took the customer's complaint. The customer was mildly annoyed, but they weren't shouting at me. They're just saying, we don't want this person back on our property, etc., etc. I said, we'll look into it. Next thing I did is I called up the driver. And I said, driver, his name began with a D, but I'll call him driver for this, just to protect his identity. Is it true that you were urinating off of customer's back porch? And he said, yes, I did. But the reason I did it was because we had finished what we were doing, I asked if I could use their bathroom, and they slammed the door in my face. Oh, now that I have the whole story, it's awfully hard to be mad at the driver when he literally had a door slammed on his face. And the gall of the people complaining to shut the door in his face and then call me up was just insulting. We soothed it over with the customer, but it was a waste of my time to get involved when either they could have said, come on in, use the bathroom, which is a common courtesy. I know there's signs for employees only, but when someone's got to go, you're going to let them go. So is it worth your time? That person wasted their time complaining, my time investigating, the driver's time explaining it to me, and then us all having to get together with my boss to explain to them that we were not going to discipline this man and the problem was on their end. So how much of your time is the complaint worth? And is it likely to get results? Again, let's go back to a pickle on a hamburger. The pickle's already on the hamburger. If you want, you can simply take it off, put it to one side, and eat the rest of the hamburger and get almost the same experience. I admit, I love a good pickle, a nice kosher sour dill pickle. But the fast food pickles they use disgust me. They're too sweet. There's no crunch to them. They're horrible. I order no pickles all the time whenever I'm on the off chance that I'm eating out. And it's not worth my time to worry about it if the people put pickles on it. That's just not my style. So I take the pickle off and I eat it. Now, for some people, every single piece of food out there, somebody's allergic to it. Every piece of fabric out there, someone's allergic to it. Every animal, everything, somebody is allergic to it. Perhaps dangerously so. And yes, we all get annoyed. Oh, this one has a peanut allergy. This one has a milk allergy. This one is lactose intolerant. All these things seem like they're ridiculous. And some people do abuse it. But the people who have these conditions live in agony. My mother has terrible allergies to seasonal pollen. And I mean, she spends about 4 months of the year literally stuffed up, taking pills, taking honey and all sorts of things, just so that she can lead a normal life. I had them for a couple years, and they've mostly gone away. But it's terrible to suffer like that. So I'm not going to turn around and say anybody is faking their allergies, because I don't know what they are. Although, there's an amusing story from pub owners that they get asked for a gluten-free menu, and the first thing the person orders is a beer, which of course is made from rye or wheat of whatever description you have. Pretty much tosses the gluten-free out the menu, but they don't make a big fuss and say, wait a second, beer has gluten in it. They just smile and take the order and go on. So a lot of the times when you wanted to file a complaint, you've already gotten some sort of special treatment. And that's why your complaint doesn't seem to go anywhere. They've already bent over for you, and you might not even be aware of it. Something that's a normal request for you might be a very abnormal request on the other line. The third thing to remember, and I cannot emphasize this enough, the first person to answer the phone is almost never the right person. They didn't make the mistake. They've got to go through and figure out what happened, so they're going to need to ask you some questions. Be polite, be nice, and you're going to get what you want a lot quicker. If you just explode at the first person, you're going to put them in a bad position. Years ago when I worked, we had what we called the cheese lady. Because this was a business-to-business call, and she would call up the business 6 o'clock in the morning, and her exact words were, "Where's my cheese?" That was it. She didn't say, "Hello, this is so-and-so calling from this company. I'm looking for where my load of cheese is." No. She just came, "Where's my cheese?" Now, call display is finicky at the best of times, and her number was unlisted. Now, they were a big customer, but the same token, You don't know what the person's been dealing with before that. So always, when you call up for the first person, be polite. Tell them who you are and tell them what you want. Hello, my name is Silverlight. I'm calling on behalf of whatever it might be, and I need to ask about this incident. Very simple formula. Your name, who you're calling on behalf of, if you're calling on behalf of anybody, and the incident that you're talking about. Because then you give the person on the other side a chance to catch up. If I just call up and say, "Where's my cheese?" What do you say to that? What cheese? Well, my cheese is supposed to be here. Okay, who am I talking to? You see, now the person has to construct from basics, and it makes them look silly, and they feel defensive. Whereas if you give them the information, hello, my name is Silverlight, I'm calling because I need to get my load of cheese. That's supposed to be coming from as much information as you can give them. Then they're going to start asking identification questions. For those of you that work business to business, you will still get some identification questions, just to make sure, because companies are scumbags. And I'm not proud to admit it, but I've done it. I've called up and pretended to be somebody else just to get some inside information, and then used it to win a bid. Sorry, I don't like doing sales, but when I do it, I'm among the best. Other than that, remember that first person is being caught off guard, but that first person you talk to also has a secret power. If you call up, and if you're mad at them, and you're screaming, and you're everything, blah, 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 they're going to put you on hold. And they're either going to ice you and let you sit on hold until you calm down, or they're going to put you on hold, enter notes in the system, go to their supervisor, whatever it takes, so they can say, I got a customer yelling about cheese. What do I do about that? And the super might say transfer them over or string them along, whatever it takes. But the first person is never the person to get angry at. I was dealing with an airline not too long ago. And even though the airline had canceled the ticket, and in their contract it said they would refund the money, they were trying to keep a deposit. Now the first person couldn't help me, but I knew that. The first person can almost never help you with money. So, the first person that answers the phone, always be kind, always be polite, because they usually know who and what person, what department is the best one to help you out. It costs you nothing to be a little bit polite in that situation, even if your blood is boiling. Whenever you call up, chances are you're going to get hold times. I've been dealing with all sorts of things on my end, nothing really interesting, and I've been waiting on hold for hours and hours. I had to make a minor phone call to my doctor today, nothing of any concern, just to follow up on a question that I asked that he needed to do some research on, and there were 15 people in line in front of me. You know what? My call's not that important. So I hung up. I'll call them tomorrow at a different time, because those are 15 people, maybe with very critical questions. Did I get upset? No. But I also evaluated it, not worth my time to sit here listening to that music, listening on hold, and then finally getting in touch to where I was probably going to be told, oh, well, we're going to make another phone call anyway. Okay, no problem. I can always make that phone call tomorrow. It's not life or death. Not even close to life or death. So, again, I applied the 3 principles I've told you so far. And the first person I talk to over there is usually pretty good. Not always. I know the people in the clinic, and there's one person I avoid dealing with, but the other ones are always pretty good. So the first person is not the one who's going to be able to solve your problem. And if they are able to solve your problem, your problem probably was not very difficult to begin with. Now let's assume you've gone through all this. Again, let's go back to the airline company that I was dealing with. I had actually found out the airline issued a 100% refund to the travel agency, and the travel agency and kept that and then demanded more money to be able to rebook the same ticket. And I was able to document all this. Still didn't lose my temper. And I kept going back to my essential point. Okay, the airline is giving you 100% of the money back. You've already had it for 3 months, 6 months, sitting in your account. You've collected interest on it already. So I'm not willing to pay 25%. I am willing to pay what is stipulated in the contract, which is nothing really, but at the same token, I was willing to pay a much reduced rate, but I wasn't willing to pay 25% and 25% and 25%, and they just kept adding 25% for rebooking when they were doing no additional work. Again, the key is not losing your temper. Be polite. The person eventually agreed to let me speak to his supervisor, which they were initially reluctant to do. Some businesses are like that. I've worked in that environment where the supervisor said, "Stop transferring calls to me." Well, I'm only transferring it to you because I don't know how to deal with this particular situation, but that's the way you want it? Fine. I can sit on hold and wait for this person to calm down, and the supervisors almost always eventually come around to say, "Okay, transfer that to me." This person transferred me to their supervisor. I waited on hold for another while, which was expected. You know, there's 15 call takers, let's say, for one supervisor. So if all 15 are transferring people over, you're going to wind up waiting. When it got to me, the supervisor hung up on me. No, it wasn't an accident because the phone got picked up. I said hello, and they hung up immediately. I don't really have an aggressive voice on the phone. When I'm recording my podcast, it's different because I'm trying to make a point and sound serious. But when I'm on the phone, I have a pretty jovial, friendly voice. Hello, my name is Silverlight. I'm calling because I need to inquire about the balloons that you sent over to 29 Eastwood Court. Made that address up. Maybe there is one in this area, maybe not. But it costs you nothing to be polite, and it ticks all the criteria off right there. So after you've called, you've gotten hung up on, and you've gotten more upset, you call back. Yes, you're going to wind up waiting on hold, which is going to make you angrier because you're thinking of all the time you're wasting. You still can't let that get to you. You still got to keep your cool. You still got to be the one who's in control because the first person you get is going to be a different person probably, and they're going to have notes. Either in the system that says this person's complaining about this particular thing, whatever the case may be, they have that information in front of them. And it costs them zero extra effort to put in the person was polite or the person was rude. And they will. If my employees were doing that, I would tell them, by the way, leave that note if it's relevant. So then we come to the crux of the matter. What are you complaining about? Really, what are you complaining about? Is this something that can be resolved? Do you want your money back? Do you want your item replaced? Or are you just trying to get a freebie? Let's be honest, if you're calling to get a freebie, unless it's replacing an item that you have that's broken, you're just complaining for the sake of complaining. Everybody's done it, tried to call a pizza company, and then at 60 minutes you call them back to get the free pizza. Okay, that's an implied contract. That's all right. But a lot of people will call up a Sears, place like that. I'm purposely going to pick on Sears because they're not in business, so I can't offend anybody. But they'll call up Sears and they'll be like, I ordered a backyard pool from you, and I don't like the color. Well, what do you want? Well, I want another pool sent out to me, and I want a bicycle. Most companies are not going to do that. You have to have a pretty serious case, like the pool somehow hurt you. It fell over, gashed your leg open, damage had to be done, and then they will start to take you seriously. Otherwise, you'll remain at that first person level, no matter how high you go up the chain. The fact is, companies And governments need to watch their bottom line. And you're not getting anything for free. Unless something really tragic happened to you. This is why we come to looking at the reviews online. And one of the ways I take my breath is I look at the company's reviews online. If they're 5-star all the way, I might bring it to their attention, give them a chance to make it right. If they're 1 stars all the way, I read the comments. I'm always interested to see what the 1-star comments are. Because you get people that rate 1 star and leave no information. Well, that's not very helpful. Then you see a lot of 1-star comments that are really unhelpful. Company I used to work for had a 3.7 rating. And you go through the comments, and they kept saying, most people were saying the staff was very nice and they liked working there. But the 1-star rating was because they had a gravel parking lot. And people were upset their cars were being damaged. Well, that's not a reason to rate a company 1 star, but it's helpful information to know if you go there. The same is true about complaining. Look at the 1 stars and the 5 stars. See how responsive they are to people. If there's a lot of 1 stars, these people are rude, these people are scamming you, stuff like that, you probably shouldn't have done business with them in the first place. But if there's a lot of 5 stars that they'll help you out and stuff like that, call up. Try to keep your cool. Try to keep calm. Remember what you're complaining about and don't bring all the emotional luggage from the rest of your day into that conversation. Make sure it is worth your time, because your time is worth money. The time you're on hold, you could be spending doing something, anything else. Be polite to the people you talk to on the phone. Even if they're being nasty, remember, you don't know what day they've had. And unless they say something completely outrageous, like if they're racist or sexist or somehow condescending like that, then still keep your cool and take it to the next level, because those calls are recorded for quality assurance and for training purposes and all that sort of thing. So don't get too upset when somebody says something horrible like that. Just, okay, I feel we've reached the end of our conversation. Can I please speak to your manager? The manager can play back the recording. I've been in many situations where the manager's played back a recording, and you know what? I've never been in the wrong. Now, I might be unique there. I'm sure everybody said something crazy at some point. But the fact is, the information is there. And if you do have a legitimate complaint, they can follow up on it. And most importantly, know what you want. Are you trying to get it replaced, or are you trying to punish them? If you're trying to punish them, you're far better off going to the Better Business Bureau, going to an ombudsman, going to a lawyer. Because, like I said, if it injures you and you're trying to get a new pool, you're probably better off pursuing another avenue. And other than that, the company is willing to replace what they did or make it right in that way. They're not willing to send you free stuff. They're not willing to give you free anything, because the days of freebies are long since over. So, those are some examples on how to complain constructively. The core value that you need to take from this is to remain calm. No matter how much it kills you, no matter how many hours you spend on hold, no matter who's hung up on you, no matter who's yelled at you, remain calm. You're being recorded. Is it worth your time? How much time are you spending on things? The first person who answers the phone is probably not going to be the one that can help you. Sorry to all those first-person responders out there, but yeah, I know your jobs are limited, you don't have training, and there's a lot of things you don't have access to. So, and remember, in your job, you're probably not the final person that the buck stops with as well. So don't get too mad at the people that you're complaining to. Face to face, whether you're in a burger store yelling at the person behind the counter, or whether you're on the phone. The important thing is remain calm. The old saying, you attract more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, holds true even to this day. And most importantly, when you do get through to the supervisor, know what you want. Because if you just sit there and say, I want something done, you're not going to be very satisfied. This has been the Silverlight Show. It's been an experimental show. I hope everybody found it interesting. And above all, I hope you have a great day.